of Tame Your Brain. It's a system that is, oh, look, we've got YouTube up. Woohoo! Tame Your Brain is a system that I'm going to run you through the second and third parts of today. The first part, as I say, is loaded up in the circle, all ready for you. Thanks to the lovely Duncan. So go back and watch that to get clarity on that. But I'm going to briefly recap it today so that you know where we are, so that you know your terrain. So what are we talking about today? We are talking about knowing what to change. We have to know what to change before we can change it, right? When you get a bit fat, you know that you need to change when you can't do your jeans up. What are the indicators that tell you when you've got to change your money mindset? I'm going to explain exactly what that looks like. What we always talk about in these Tame Your Brain sessions, for those of you, again, new to it, welcome, welcome, love new people, is what works, how to get productive, your subconscious brain, and how to get massive traction. You'll see, I promised you cats. There's always cats with me. There's going to be cats. So you'll see on the screen these beauteous big cats. That's because we can think of our flow profile. So I'm a flow consultant with Genius U. I've been that for 5 years, and I weave this through everything I do since I trained with Michelle Clark about, I think 5-6 years ago now. It's so vital for money to understand your flow state. So we're going to be talking about that as well. And all of our flow profiles can be thought of as these glorious beasties. Here's a picture of me. I am your school mom for today. Because some of you, if you're new to me, you might be wondering, who the hell am I? I'm someone who's been doing business development with clients for years and years and years. This is a picture from 2017. This is when I used to run a platinum group. So I'd take a select number of businesses, usually about 10 to 15, and we'd go away to a posh spa hotel, and we'd all go swimming, and we'd have beautiful food, and then we'd work hard in the boardroom during the day. We don't do that anymore, right? We're all here online trying to get your brain to work in this different situation. It's not the same as if I'm in the room with you. So I've got a request. Because for me to be able to school mom you and to give you the stuff you need, I've got to ask you, firstly, you've got to tell me if you're in the right room. So I want you just to jump in the chat and let's start interacting, because guess what? It helps you learn more when we are human beings. If we're actually interacting together, it's very different for your brain. Your brain experiences it differently. So just jump in the chat and tell me if this resonates with you. You want to get to those 10K months with grace and ease. You are tired of getting this wrong, and you want to feel easier about this. You want business to come at you and don't feel like it's wading through treacle. And you want to grow something glorious, but you might just need a little bit of help figuring out what that is or how to do it. And if that's the case, just jump in the chat and give me a yes and let me know you are here. Because I am in the room with, oh, yes, good. I'm in the room with you because I care so passionately about helping educate and evolve where you are to where you want to be. That's what I live for. This is my job because I love it, not because I'm in a seat. If you're an entrepreneur too, you'll know that feeling of you don't want to do that 9 to 5 anymore. You don't want to be trapped in that old existence. Yes, good. Everyone's in. I'm pleased. Good. Thank you, guys. Why am I getting you to interact? Because I teach slightly differently to other people. It's why you learn 3 times faster and 3 times more with me and my methods than you will with another trainer, because I teach accelerated learning techniques. Everything I do will be trying to get the maximum value for you in your brain. So my plea is, please make sure your phone is out of your area. Please make sure you are genuinely watching and engaging, not just sitting here passively, because we're real people. We're here in this room together, weird as it might seem, but that connection, even if you're watching on Team Replay, helps your brain to learn more. So I'm also going to ask you, I'll just let this slide sink in. Love this slide. I'm also going to ask you to please understand that we know stuff about your brain. We really do. We know what your brain does. Why? Because there's been decades of learning since functional MRI was invented. We can watch the blood flow change in your brain as you think a different thought. So I'm going to be teaching you today, but what you have to do is get really curious. Think about, what can I learn from this? And write notes like you're going to teach somebody you love, because that somebody you love is you. And the more notes you take, the more you'll retain of this. Yes, feel into it as well. Please capture the little shifts that you notice. So without further ado, let's go. When we're talking about money blocks, what we're actually talking about is that flow is the flow of money, as well as the flow of energy and the flow of intention. It's like a river. It can't flow uphill. It goes down the path of least resistance. We know that everyone's neurology is slightly different. So I'm a specialist in the brain. I look at why people do what they do. And my life's work is about helping people do better with what you're born with. Do better with what you've got. Feel better as soon as you know better, because then when you do better, it's a beautiful circle that completes. And this idea of flow, you know, we started with money a long time ago. We'd swap an avocado for a seashell. And that was the only way we knew how to do it until someone had the idea of writing it down on a little piece of paper. Money started up here. Money is all in the brain. Money was an idea in its first instance. It was first formed as just a construct. And there's no real reason to feel emotional about money, but we all do. We all do. And I'm going to explain why as we go through. So we've got these four big cat brains, as I like to call them. We've got the feelings that we feel based on our neurology. So if you're a dynamo, you're more like the mighty cheetah that runs really fast across the African terrain. And you might be more like that if you're a dynamo brain. So you become an early adopter, you jump in first, you buy the VIP. If you're more of what we call a leopardy brain, where you're sitting in your tree carefully analysing the terrain, so that's if you're more a tempo, then you'll become more a creature of habit. You monitor your habits more. If you're more a lion brain, you want that variety, you want that intense excitement. So that's what we call blaze, that energy that brings the fire element. Tigery brains are more what we call steel, where you're more padding slowly and cautiously towards your goal. And you feel a great anxiety if you haven't got that security, because that's so important to you. You're very risk averse. So you can understand how this changes the way we behave, whether we go for clarity or whether we are happy to live in chaos. My house is currently being massively pulled apart by the most amazing cleaners that I've ever seen in my life. They are ripping apart my kitchen. I found a work surface for the first time in about 2 years. I'm not joking. And they're in there just binning everything. Why? Because I've held on to everything just in case I might need it. And I'm happy to work in complete chaos. Honestly, because my brain works like that. So where your brain sits in the neurological grid has a massive effect on how you behave in life. So we have to start by getting terrain. So the T for Tame Your Brain stands for terrain. We want to get clear on what's the ground beneath your feet. Because guys, it's never the same as the map that's in your head. Where are you now? Where are you standing on? So I just want you to pick up your pen and just write down, when it comes to money, how in flow are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Just give yourself an integer, and you can feel free to share it in the chat if you like, but give yourself an integer that says, where am I? How am I feeling about money? Where's my emotional heat around this subject? Because as soon as we begin to identify that, we begin to get this terrain sorted. So I'll let you do that. What are these steps that I'm talking about? Well, this is the Tame Your Brain system, which I created a couple of years ago when I realized in my one-to-one coaching, I was saying the same thing over and over again. It became very apparent to me as I was coaching that there are people needing the same steps over and over again. So I whacked it into a system and called it Tame Your Brain, because my theory is if you tame your brain, you can change your life. And that is nowhere more true than it is in this sphere of limiting beliefs around money. So welcome those of you just joining us. Just make sure you're on mute as you come in, please, just so we can keep the stream clear for those watching on Team Replay. Lovely to have you all with us. Thank you for joining. So when we think about terrain, what are we talking about? We're talking about knowing where we start so that we can then know where we want to go. We're all aiming for something. We're all trying for this next layer of our life. I know where I want to be in a year from now. I know infinitely where I want to be in the future. What we don't know is what's going to happen in 5 years. Why? Because the world is moving so fast. The digital terrain we're all standing on is changing daily. I'm doing things in my business today that I didn't think I'd be doing a year ago because I didn't know where the digital terrain was going to go. And we all have to be really adaptive to that. And I hope you're all going to be at the Fast Track Entrepreneur event this week. I believe that's Thursday, isn't it, Duncan? Let me know in the chat before I tell everyone the wrong date. They all turn up wrong and go, but Libby said. So we're talking today about this third layer of the move. So Tame Your Brain stands for first, find your terrain. Then we need to take aim. Then we must move. You have to move to get to where you want to go, right? It's logical. It's really simple. But what stops you from moving is often right here. Right here. Definitely Thursday, says Duncan. Thank you, Duncan. I love this. Duncan's in Singapore. So this is probably like nearly midnight for you, isn't it? I'm rubbish at time zones, but I know it's late for you. I know it's late, but thank you for being here to support us, Duncan. You're awesome. Terrain is not the map in your head. It is the ground beneath your feet. We have to get clarity there before we can work out where firstly we are going towards, and then how to get there. Where's the first step? Very often I unblock people by just getting them really clear on what is the next step you need to take, and they're like, oh yeah, of course. And that's what we are going to talk about today, specifically around money. So the aim is where you're going. It's also what you give. So it's what you want, but it's also what you give. I know that sounds old-fashioned, but bear with me on this, guys, and I'll come to it as we talk about why people get blocked on money, because it's all about how do you serve and who do you serve? Who are the people that you serve? So again, if you're new to my work, go back and watch the first Tame Your Brain in my circle. And Duncan, maybe you can pop a link into that circle if you get a second. Thank you. But make sure that you know who you're serving intimately, because only then do we get this compelling drive to then do this final step, which is move. We need to know where you're going before you can do that. We need to know what you want from that and what's it going to take. So we call it closing the gap between knowing what to do and doing what you know. And let me say that again, because this is really important. There is a gap between knowing what to do and doing what you know. Knowledge is no longer enough, guys. Power in this day and age is nothing more than the ability to take action. All the knowledge is out there already. All the books have already been written. Everything is on the internet. But if you know it and you don't do it, you're no closer, are you? So we've got to know this BPR, business process reengineering. It's what I used to do when I worked in the city. It's a really powerful piece, and I'll do a bigger session on this in our December session. I need to confirm the dates with you for that, Duncan. So I promise you cats. Look, here's another one. They're everywhere. This is actually a foster fail. He's in my room next door. Ridiculous creature that I thought was too ridiculous to give to anybody else, so I kept him. So what are we talking about today? I want you to pick up your pen and answer me this one question really fast without censoring yourself. Just pick up your pen and write me the first 3 negative things. I'm deliberately targeting you here. The first 3 negative things that come to mind if I ask you the question, money is. What have you got? First 3 things, money is. Pick up your pen, scribble it down. Money is. We want the first 3 things that come to mind, and we want the first 3 negative things. And be really honest. Again, don't try and filter yourself. Don't try and say something really cool and clever. You don't have to share this with anybody. I want to see the filth that is in your head, guys. Let's get it out. So, yeah, people are putting them in the chat as well. That's fine too if you want to share. Yeah, costs time, precious time to get. Yep, totally agree with you there, Cornelia. We've all got these blocks. You have to acknowledge them before you can change them. You need to know your terrain before you can move. Needs hard work. Yep, heard that one a lot. So, where do these sit? When you finish writing your 3 negative things about your money blocks, have a look at this screen, because this is really interesting. I do this on stage all around the world, and I've seen so many commonalities. Doesn't matter what nationality people are, doesn't matter what language they speak. These are the things that come out the most frequently. And these are and usually I'd flip chart this, and I would be writing it as people shout them out from the audience. But what's always really funny is as it's said by somebody else goes, oh yeah, I thought that too. And these are really common, because where do we get these from? It's usually from our magical big people. You remember those magical big people when you were this high and they were telling you things? My mother was always, money doesn't grow on trees. Watch out. They were also, my parents were both teachers, and they were quite scathing of people with money because they didn't have any. They had to cope with those feelings around it. So I also used to hear a lot, anyone with money must be stupid. So there was a common phrase in my household, which was more money than sense. And they'd sort of say it with a bit of a sneer almost. And don't get me wrong, my parents were lovely people, but they had to cope with those feelings. So they packaged it into a feeling that made them feel a certain thing. We only do what we do because of how it makes us feel. Remember that one. So when you look at this list, is there any on there that you would resonate with? Because these might be rattling around in your head. And guess what, guys? Guess what? If any of these are right in front of your eyes, when you start to try and build your business, do you think it's going to change your behaviors at all? Yeah, you bet. Why? Because as human beings, we have hardwired circuitry to avoid pain. We have massive neurology designed, any parents here that have stepped on a Lego brick at 4 a.m. know what I'm talking about, right? Instant ninja, throw yourself across the room. So we've got these reflex arcs that fire off dramatically fast. You don't even have to think. Equally, we have other wiring towards pleasure, but it's less hardwired. So it's less dominant than our pain wiring. We try and avoid pain because we don't want to die. So you think about it, if you're standing on the subway or if you're on a tube platform, if you're in London like me, and as you're standing there, you've ignored the bit that says mind the gap, you've ignored the announcement, and you're standing right near the gap, right? And a train's coming in really fast and you hear it and the wind starts to hit you and you know a train's coming because you're a seasoned commuter, you've got your book out, and then someone brushes past you a bit too close behind and they nudge you and you begin to fall. What do you do immediately? What do? You don't even have to think, right? You windmill backward dramatically fast. Your body kicks in. Your neurology takes over. Why? Because you haven't got time to think about not dying. So your neurology is stronger than the gravity that's pulling you forward. And you don't have to think about it. You don't think must arch back to 45 degrees, must use body weight, mass index thrown backwards against the force of the propulsive force. These are things that our brains don't want to have to process. It's the same with money. We set our beliefs and our behaviors in order to serve us. What does that look like? Well, here's the trouble. When we're talking, and this is business process reengineering in one slide, for those of you that want a career in the city, I've just taught you BPR. We move from the as is picture where we are now, and we go towards this to be picture. So our actions should be away from and towards. That's what should happen. Note the should all over yourself is what Tony Robbins usually says, because guys, we don't ever do what we should. We do what we must, right? Now, here's the thing. If what you're moving towards, make sure you're on mute, please, everybody, just so that we can keep a clean stream. Thank you. If what you're moving towards is painful, guess what happens? You begin to move away from instead. So you will think you're doing everything right, but secretly, suddenly, the ironing pile becomes very attractive. Secretly, suddenly, I must go and clean all the mirrors in the house. Suddenly, your behaviors move into away from behaviors. Why? We cannot move towards pain. We can't do it. Our body won't let us. Our body won't let us, unless you're a masochist. That's different. But when we look at pain, we have to understand how primal these responses are. These are deep, deep, deep in your limbic brain, your old lizardy brain, like way before your thinking cortex gets involved. And why is this important? Because things only have the meaning you give them. Let me say this very clearly. Things only have the meaning you give them. If you believe yourself to be in a house where your partner is upstairs or your children are upstairs and you're sat on the sofa, it's 8 p.m, you've got a glass of wine, you are sitting there relaxed, comfortable, your heart rate is a certain level, you hear footsteps upstairs, it means mundane, comfortable, same. You don't change what you're doing, right? Now put the same auditory input of hearing footsteps upstairs, but change the meaning. Imagine you're alone in the house and you hear those footsteps above you in a house you thought to be completely empty with all doors locked. What does that do? Instant heart rate change, instant completely looking around for a weapon, grabbing your phone. The same auditory input has a very different meaning based on context. Context is everything. Now, here's the thing. Money only has the context we give it. Money can be pain. Money can be hard work. You will behave differently towards money. I hope this is beginning to make sense. I hope this is going, So I'm going to come back and do another session on goal setting around this, because that's completely separate. I use a system called Right Goals, invented by Jeff Spencer, an Olympian. It's amazing, much better than SMART goals, guys. But things you need to be looking at a goal that actually inspires you. That as is to be picture. If your money goal doesn't inspire you, you're not going to do it. But here's the thing: if it's too high, it will freak you out. You won't believe it. You'll think it will cause you pain, and you actively start moving away from it. And I see this again and again. And hands up, I've done it myself. I've self-sabotaged before. When I earned too much money, the barometer was exceeded. My body went, whoa, that doesn't sit right with me. Turned the dial back down to save me, to move me away from the edge of that tube platform, because it didn't feel right. Didn't feel right. So we have to set our goals in accordance with how money feels. I hope you're beginning to get where this is going. So when we know our outcome, where I want to get to, so this is the first step of setting goals, is knowing that as is to be picture. When you know where you want to get to, then you can move to the next step of taking massive action. How do I start? How do I leave here? What do I do? However, and this is really important, you can intellectually decide to do all this, but you might still self-sabotage. You might still self-sabotage. Why? Because if the pain is bigger than the pleasure, you really won't do it, because as soon as we start to move towards pain, completely different. So we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. Will Durant said that. It's a beautiful quote. I use it a lot. But manifesting alone doesn't do enough. That does not make your habits set. It's a channel. It's thought, word, deed. Everything starts up here. This Zoom call we're on was once in somebody's head. It was once a concept that when the world was ready was then made real. But you have to think it first. You have to pay energy into the cycle. First you think it, then you say it, then you go and do it. But if you can't even think it, how are you going to get past that as a block? Building a business is a process of continually going through this cycle. First, it's a thought, it's a dream in your head. Then, if we say it out loud, it becomes a wish. That's all. It's nothing more than a wish. It only becomes a goal if we actually begin to plan what we need to do. And then when you start to build and scale, it's already done. It's done. It's just a matter of time until it happens, once you start the strategy piece. But however, guess what? If you can't think it and you can't say it out loud, how can you do the next bits? How can you do the next bits? So most people get blocked here, sadly, or even here. They say it, they say they want to make money, but by saying making money, that could be 1 penny more than you're making already, or 1 cent more. That's not enough. You've got to get blinding clarity on this piece, guys. So where do we get our beliefs from? Here's me with my daughter. She is a giant, lanky, nearly 16 on Friday this week. This is a big, massive spider that ran out from under my sofa. I can't even look at that. It makes me feel a little bit sick. Got to be honest. And you can see by her face, she feels the same way. Why has she got that belief system? Who knows? It's a mixture of nature and nurture. But some people on this planet perceive spiders to run towards them faster than a ping pong ball, for example. So it's a really interesting phenomena. It's like a real thing where spiders are more terrifying to some members of society, me included, right? So you can see what I did. I downed my scotch really fast, threw myself instant ninja across the room, lidded it, and got it out. Because my belief system is that should not be in the same room as me. But that belief drove that action. I don't believe it should die, sadly, but I don't. So I have to catch it and then I have to put it outside. That's my belief system. But that action set was triggered by the stimulus of that spider running in. So we have to think about your stimulus, your stimuli. Here's my car. This is the big beastie that I bought when I got divorced and realized all the blue jobs are now mine. And so packing it is hilarious because I just open the boot and throw it. Everything goes in. Children, yeah, cats, doesn't matter. Get in the car. But this is all about, yes, Lubna, set it free. That is the goal, isn't it? But this is all about having a perception of the world around you, because until I bought this car, I was very much more a sporty coupe kind of girl. And I believed intrinsically that cars should be fast, look a certain way. I didn't have a belief about a boot. I changed my habits when my beliefs changed. I suddenly believed, all right, I've got to pack a car with lots of kit. I had a 6-month-old baby at the time. Lots of kit needs to fit in this car. So my belief manifested itself as a massive wagon, which I've now got to change. I've got to go hybrid. I can't keep killing the planet. But your beliefs get made real based on what you care about, guys, based on what you care about. So what is it you care about? And I'll tell you what controls what you care about with money. It's a little tiny part of your brain. And this is filtering your environment the whole time, 100% of the time. It's your reticular activating system. So before I bought that car, I hadn't really thought much about it. As soon as I bought that car, have you ever had this thing where you buy a new car and then everywhere you go, suddenly everyone seems to be driving it. You're seeing it everywhere. And was it there all along? Yes, of course. Did you notice it? No, of course not. Because it wasn't the spider running out that you had to do anything about. So your brain filtered it out. So our brain has this amazing ability to distort reality and generalize to serve you. It's doing it to serve you because you think 14 billion thoughts a day. There is no way to house all that information unless you do some harsh filtering. So I want you to grab your pen and I want you to write down, what is a money block that you know you need to change? What is a money block that you know is getting in your way? Is it that money is hard? Is it that if I earn money, I'll actually be a really bad person? I know I had that one for a while because of that voice. More money than sense. Thanks, Mum. What is it that you've got rattling around in your brain box that you might want to change for 2022? Because guess what, guys? It is a literal matter of, what is it, 5 Fridays we've got, I think, until it's 2022. That is scary as hell if you haven't prepared yourself for what's coming next. So just jot that down and just put a little box next to it, implying that you're going to come back and tick that off soon, because you need to. You need to. Because when we think about our limiting beliefs, what we're actually talking about is, what is holding me back? What's stopping me? So I want you to just go now and very deliberately, I want you to write a positive belief you hold about money, please. And I want you to write down something that could be true if you wanted it to be. If you had enough belief in this, money is freedom, Cornelia. Yeah, isn't it just? Because it gives you the freedom to do what you want, wherever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want. Excuse me. So just make sure you've got one negative that you know you need to change and one positive that you would like to believe before I tell you what we've got coming up. Because today is to make you understand where our beliefs start. What I want to do is help you get to the point where your limiting beliefs end, where you stop believing the BS that is holding you back. Because you've got a choice, guys. You've got a choice. You can start to take massive action toward your goals, or you can let 2022 play out in exactly the same way the other years before this have. And that choice rests firmly with you. Only you can make that decision that, right, actually, it is time now. It is time to make a change on these money beliefs. And I mean, just have a look at this list again, because honestly, do you need to be carrying this stuff around in your head? Do you want to be carrying this around in your head? Why would you want to carry this around in your head? Because when we have something running behind our eyes, it works like software. And every time, if you're as old as me, you might remember the days when we had LPs, records. Do you remember that? And you'd put it on the turntable, you'd lift the stylus, because you weren't push enough to have an auto loader, and you'd lift the stylus and you gently place it down on the edge of that record. And what happens? That needle goes round and round and round. The disc turns. It can only go one way, towards the center. It's pre-programmed, isn't it? Your brain works very similarly. Your brain is like a spectacularly crap computer with only 2 gig of RAM. And all it can do is do what it's told. And the reason when you get pushed in front of that tube, you react so violently is that your judge brain doesn't get a look in. We like to think our rational intellect brain is driving the car. Actually, it's not. It's sat in the passenger seat, tapping on the shoulder of our fetid, mental, emotional brain, which is gripping the wheel and going, ah! And literally, emotion drives motion. How you feel about something dictates what you do. We call it the think, feel, do continuum. And it's very frustrating to see it playing out in your own life. I remember I looked at myself self-sabotaging for years before I did anything about it. And then when I did, my business rocketed by 300% overnight. It was ridiculous. And that's this stuff that I'm teaching you today. And that's this stuff that is part of why I've built the business that I have to the level that it got to so quickly. And all of the stuff that I'm going to teach you in our next trainings as well are based on how to change your money blocks. So I've got a thing for you, got a thing. So if anyone wants to head off, they can, but I'm just going to detail this for those of you that want to understand a bit more about this, because I'm going to talk to the action takers in the room now. I'm going to talk to those people who don't want 2022 to be the same as the years that have gone before. I'm going to talk to the people in the room who are ready to authentically build towards their future and who are serious about committing. I want people who are ready to go all in with me, because I work with action takers. Action is the key to closing that gap between knowing what to do and doing what you know. And I'm here, that's my mission on this earth, to help people close that gap. Yes, Duncan, I love that one. The last deal has not been done. I used to believe, growing up in the dot-com era, oh God, I've really missed out. Guess what, guys? We are on the edge. We are on the very edge. It's like we're in those years of the pioneers when you could just grab a flag and stick it in the ground and nick that land from whoever owned it before you because you could stake your claim. We're in that same space now. There has never been a better time to be a digital entrepreneur, which is why I'm so passionate about being in this space with you guys, because I know you want that too. I know you want that too. So I have something for you. I don't usually do this, by the way. Usually I just deliver and then I say, oh, I'm so busy, I've got to go and do my calls. But I've actually built something which I want to share with you. Just to let you know, I have got some credibility in this field. I've got 20 years experience neurocoaching. I did take a degree in behaviour. That was at Cambridge University, which you may have heard of, whether you're from the UK or not. It's quite renowned as a centre for excellence, and I specialised in the neural mechanisms of behaviour, so I do know what I'm talking about in this field. I've also qualified as a flow consultant. I'm a peak performance specialist, and I've been external consultant for Merck Pharmaceutical, who again you may have heard of more recently than usually would do, in the big pharma space, which is suddenly exploding because of our current world zone. So I've spoken on stages that are fairly big all around the world. I usually lead rooms in subjects like this. I also run other people's conferences for them because I'm known to be a speaker that specialises in this human behaviour thing. So I know how to hold a room. And here's me with a stuffed monkey again, not to get too up oneself. So here's my thing for you guys. I've launched something which I'm currently doing a beta trial of. That means you can get in on this. I'm looking for a very select group. I'm looking for action takers who want to come on board and basically test this material with me for the next 4 weeks. What it means is that by Christmas, we will have cleared out all of your money blocks. Hello there, 2022. How cool would that be to start the new year ready, actually ready for once? Because if you want to make more impact, if you want to make a difference to the world, because my job here is to create more flow towards me so I can do more good. That's my job. That's my job, because the more money I make, the more good I can do in the world. And that's for my family. That's for the charities that I support. I operate on a global giving basis where I try and support projects around the world. I want you to come on board with me and try this material out for a ridiculous price. Why? Because this is a product that I'm launching next year. It's going to be 4 figures and roughly 3,997 for this work. What do you get by working with me? These are people that have worked with me before, and these are people that have done trainings with me that are in the zone of trying to make a difference too. I love to work with life-giving businesses. That's my big thing. That's what thrills me. These are people that have all been through courses that I've built before. You will get an absolutely stellar experience where I will personally handhold you for the next 4 weeks until we launch next Monday, and then I'll hold your hand until the week before Christmas, and then we'll do some goal setting together for the next year so that you go into it ready. Now, this usually, can we just mute out everyone, please? Duncan, do you want to just help everyone mute to make sure we've not got a cluttered feed? Thank you. This is usually to work with me. I am £550 an hour these days. And so it does cost a certain amount to invest in one-to-one with me. So working with me in a group means you get access to all the same teachings that I do with you one-to-one, but for a much lower price point. So these are some testimonials you can go and look up if you'd like to. These are people that have gone on video and said how brilliant they found the training and what they got from it. As I say, this is a completely new course. It's 4 weeks of 1 hour a week of live, plus there's group Q&A in a private Facebook membership, which will be open for 6 weeks in total for you to get the maximum value from the learnings, and so you can go back and watch anything you've missed. And so this will carry you from now with me in your back pocket to the new year. How cool would that be? But guys, I do have limited space. You guys are getting this first before I launch it out with some adverts. You are getting an option to choose to change what you've always got here. And let me be really blunt about this. This is a game changer. This is a game changer. It's going to change your life, because what we're going to work on is the shifts it needs for you to start doing the actions. I'm not just going to tell you the actions. You've probably been on courses like that. You've probably understood that that doesn't work, right? Just getting a list, just a shopping list of do this, do that, that never works. We have to start here. We have to get in here. Your body won't go where your mind doesn't push it. So you have to know that this is right for you, because this shouldn't feel hard, guys. You shouldn't be fighting yourself the whole time. You shouldn't be fighting your neurology the whole time. You've got to be working in flow. You've got to be working in flow. And so what does that look like? Well, it's never about the tech. It's never about what course you buy. It's never about that. It's in here. It's all in here. And I'm a serial course addict. Hands up. One of my straplines is, this is the last course you'll ever buy, because I want to change your behaviors so that you go deep, you go in first, change what needs changing, tune up that engine, so that when we get to January, because let's face it, it's Christmas soon, it's happening, it's now. I'm buying millions of things already. It's ridiculous. But when we get to Christmas, there's that weird interweek, isn't there, where we've got Twixmas, as we call it in our family, where you don't know what day it is. You're drinking Baileys every day. You're eating Quality Street. No one has a clue what to do other than lie around in pajamas. And then it's going through whether or not you want to prepare yourself for January then. That's no good. That's no good. We want to do it now to get on to the next year. So this will be a ridiculous price. In dollars we're talking about, instead of what it will eventually be, which is $3,997 for you guys in this lovely container of Genius You, who I love working with. Come on board with me for a mere $499 for that entire 4 weeks course and 6 weeks access to all the materials. I will be doing closed eye sessions, which are so powerful. Closed eyes talk directly to your subconscious. Thank you, Simonia. Lovely to see you. Closed eyes deliberately move your neurology for you. So I'll be walking you through that step by step personally. And also you get a recording of that, so you can hear me bleating at you again and again. It's great. And you can replay that to yourself and go through exactly the same deep changing process that will take out those limiting beliefs. Because guys, that's what you need to do. You can do all the affirmations in the world, but unless you take out the wiring, think of that LP. That needle will only go one way unless we scratch the record, unless we disrupt the old operating system and build a new one. So the benefit of coming to me through Genius U is obviously you've got tokens, most of you in Trusted Buyers Club, and you can use those tokens to purchase this product. So effectively it costs you £0, 0 pence, if you've been gifted those tokens as a partnership deal or in other products that you've bought. So if you go into Trusted Buyers Club, this is called Massive Money Magnet. It starts November the 29th. As I say, I do have limited places. So if you want one and you just haven't got time to fill in the form today, please just drop me an email so that I can reserve that place for you, because I don't want you to miss out. Those of you watching on Team Replay, good luck, because I don't know how many spaces I'll have left. But I've only got a limited ability to offer this out at this price, because I only need a certain number of feedbacks and testimonials before I launch next year. So you're getting first dibs at something that hasn't even hit the market yet. I know I've said a lot very fast today. Let me check my, I'm winning at life. Look, I promised you a 45 minutes. I know everyone's really busy as well. We're at 46 minutes, but I'm really happy to take any questions if anyone wants to unpack anything here. You can also book a call in with me. If you can't stay now, I completely understand, and I've got a coaching call at the head of the hour as well. So you can book a discovery call with me at kemkaren.com. That is completely free. And again, I will offer out those spaces only for as many as I've got. So first come, first served, jump into those. Again, if you haven't got time to go and click on buttons now, you can always drop me an email. I'm very much an email kind of girl, and it's just libby@kemkaren.com. So if you want to talk through and see if this is right for you, because I don't ever want anyone to come into my containers if it's not right for them. I only offer things out to people if they are suitable to where you're at in your journey. And it might be that you do need one-to-one, and you can go on my wait list for January if that's the case. I'm really happy to put people onto the wait list. I just haven't got any room right now due to being fully booked. But thank you for listening. It's been lovely to work with you. I'd love to hear from you now. And again, this is part of the integrated accelerated learning. I'd love to hear your shares. What has been your light bulb moment from today? What's that one phrase that you're going to take away from this? What's that thing that's jumped out where you go, oh God, that's it. It might be something you already knew, but it's just reaffirmed it for you. It might be something that's brand new to you. You might have never heard of the reticular activating system, and you're wildly excited, as I am. So let's jump on screen. I'm going to ask you all to unmute as you want to. Please do put your hands up though, so we can manage the room and make sure we get people in turn. I am happy to answer questions in this bit as well, but I'd love to hear what you've got from today's session, because that makes me happy in my little lion heart. So who would like to go first? What have we got? Or have I wowed you all and you're all gobsmacked into silence and you're all just going to go and write furiously about your money blocks?
Well, I know from experience that people are always shy at this point, especially right after the presentation.
Yeah, of course.
And you go, right, let's go, and they're getting their thoughts together. But I do try to, remind people not to be shy. So, guys on the call, if anybody would like to interact with Libby now, it's a good time to...
If you'd rather email, that's absolutely fine, because I do totally appreciate some profile types don't want to ever be seen online, so that's absolutely fine too. Thank you, guys that jumped in the chat. We've got flow is flow of money, intention and energy. Yep, that's brilliant. Thank you for the session. Got to go. Remembering that that change starts in the brain. Yeah, absolutely. That think, feel, do was a light bulb for me when I heard it. And I just went, oh, I've got it now. And it's all about just understanding what comes first. You cannot act unless you've had the thought before that. Everything around you is a representation of someone that once had a thought about something and then went and did the things and then got the actions that they wanted as a result of that. So any other questions I can help you with while I'm here before I leg it? All looks good. Cool. So I'm going to close up, Duncan. Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting so beautifully. Did someone drop in the chat the link to click on? Perhaps
well,
we can email that out.
I absolutely did, but let's repeat. So here's the link directly to Money Magnet. And if anybody did miss it, then here is the link for Libby's community on Genius U.
Thank you. And I'd love to have you all in that community so that we can interact in there as well. I've also got a Facebook group called the Sisterhood for Entrepreneurs, which you're very welcome to come into. I do regular trainings in there. With Genius U, I'm coming on every month though. So if you're in the circle, Duncan, is that right? I think I asked you this in email. Do they get notified when we go live on a
Well,
circle?
it does depend on your, it depends on your notification settings. So, of course, when we list the event, which we tend to do shortly after this one, you will get a notification and you've got a link there. You can put it directly into your calendars. And then when we post updates, as long as you haven't got your notifications turned off, then you will receive them. But the best thing really, guys, to do is to pop back into that circle. I mean, if you love what Libby's doing, and I know I do, then why not, why not make it your focal point, part of your GU day? Of course, bookmark it, save the circle, and check in and interact, because I know that Libby herself will be in there from time to time, and I'll also be scooting around for content that I can drop in there. So come along and let's kind of make it a thing through the month from event to event. Because one thing I noticed, Libby, that I really love is you part of what you're talking about. You're not saying, look, this is it all in one masterclass, as it were. It's a journey, isn't it?
It's a journey.
Really,
and you have to unveil.
These sessions are ongoing. So
absolutely. Yeah, it's one phase at a time, and you have to know which bit you're getting blocked on. And so many people don't address. That's what made me create the product, is so many people don't address the things that have their foot on the brakes, and you have to do that first, because you can be revving away, but if you've still got a foot on the brakes, you can pump the gas all you like, you're going nowhere. And that's why this is such a pivotal part for me, is getting this bit right before you do anything else next year. You've got to dig deep, scratch that record so it can't play anymore, and put a new one on.
Absolutely. And so for anybody who's watching the recording, I know we've talked quite a bit about links, and people get curious and they won't see the chat from Zoom. So don't worry, I'll be dropping the links in underneath the live stream, where if you're watching the recording, you'll see the links below this. But yeah, stay in touch, stay in the circle, and we'll see you all here for the next Tame Your Brain next month. But let's keep the conversation flowing, and let's see how everybody's going through the month.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Duncan. Lovely to be here again. And I'll see you next
time. Thank you to everybody. And thank you to you, Dr. Libby. Thank you. Bye-bye.